Is our Anyone Can Farm Experience interview night. However, we were going to be interviewing the Homestead herdsman, but he was not able to get a Zoom hookup, and so we're kind of left. But that's okay because there is a lot to talk about, so we can press on. I let's see. Today is what? Let's get this for prosperity's sake. Posterity's sake. Prosperity or posterity? Posterity. Today is the 27th of April, 2023. And I'm Mark, your host. Ing is with us. Right on. Right on. Belva's with us. Great. I like to start these shows when I have a day like today and tell you all about kind of what went on here. I don't know if that helps. I'm not one of these hosts that likes to say thank you very much. My wife just brought me a glass of ice cold milk, and we're going to be talking about the effect that a milk cow has on the family farm. All right, that was we wanted to have a discussion about milk cows and things in general. And so we'll do that anyway, and I'll do the best I can to answer your questions about milk cows. Feel free to ask questions tonight on the chat, and I'll see what I can do to answer your questions, because we've been milking cows now for 10 years. There's a lot that I don't know, but there's a whole lot that I do know. And what it comes down to really is this. There is nothing like nice, cold, raw cow's milk off grass-fed cows. There's nothing like it. If you haven't had it, you should seek it out and try it. And then you'll be more interested in this conversation. Like, well, what would it take for me to have a milk cow on my farm? How do you do that? There's a lot of moving parts there. And if you haven't done it, like I hadn't done it, of course, I was, just a wet-nosed GI. I didn't know anything about cows. I mean, how would I know anything about that? But I decided that I wanted to do it. And so I asked a few questions here and there, and I found a guy that had a cow, and he sold me the cow. And the rest is history. I now have 5 cows here on the farm. Now, if you come here, you'll see about 15 bovine, 15 to 18, something like that. But there's a combination there of milk cows and steers, and we have 1 bull, right? And then we have calves, the babies. We have some of them too. So first of all, let me tell you what I've been doing today and why I had such a kick of a day. I think it's real important to understand this. This job that I have is I don't know. I get up in the morning and I think I get to do this, and I'm really psyched about what I have set aside for work today and how I'm going to approach it. And in reality, approaching a job, it started a long time ago. It started a long time ago when I was a teen and started working on my own cars, and you learn how to prioritize the job, how to have the tools necessary to do the job. And there's so much to it. And it's really nice for me right now to be in a position where I'm in, where today, let's say, I'm still I'm pretty well done today. I think I finished completely 100%. My first 3 chicken tractors are deployed onto the field, right? And they are 100%. This is my my 5th generation, and I built these 3 last summer. And then I have 2 more that we were using before that, which would have been generation 4. And I'm going to modify them, radical modification, and they'll be generation 5 too. So that'll give me 5 chicken tractors. And, as I'm doing it, I'm thinking the numbers. Like uh, we look at a chicken tractor and we put 80 birds in there. Sometimes people say 75. For us, 80 works good. And I like the number 80. I just like that number because when I say, well, I have 5 chicken tractors, and if I'm full, how many chicken tractors in that is that, And it's easy in my head. Let's see, 5 times 75. I'm not a mathematician. Not a woman either. But I can save 5 times 80. 400. Reloaded 3 times. 400 times 3, 1,200 birds in a summer. Great. 1,200 times 9. That's a good number that people like as far as profit goes. All right, somebody's going to be quicker on the draw than me, I'm sure. Nobody? No. 1,200 times 9 is 10,000. So, like today, I this is my 3rd day working out there, and they weren't full days. And I started thinking, wow, I'm spending a lot of time out here. Some of this stuff is like not necessary. We can function without it. But then I thought, wait a minute, we're going to turn 10 grand on this operation this year. That's worth a couple days of my attention. It really is. I mean, what's a couple days? I mean, these chicken tractors are so nice. I mean, they make life so easy that it's worth me spending time on it and making it just right. Because my daughter Rachel is the one that runs them for the majority of the time, and I like it. So when she goes out there, she doesn't have any issues. I like it to work very smoothly for her, and we've got them to the point where they're coming in at under 200 pounds, which is a big thing for her because she's the one that's got to move them. Moving a 200-pound tractor, really, we skid them. So you're picking up a little bit of it off the front and then just walking backwards with it. They skid really easy because of the superior engineering and design. Thank you very much. And that they come in for $250. We can build them in parts, but labor and engineering and all that stuff. I mean, if I was going to sell one of those, I'd probably, it'd be somewhere around $750. If I was going to build one for sale, that's probably where I'd be, because there's a lot that goes into it. We do have plans for that chicken tractor if you're interested, but that's available to the Tribe Plus members. So you might want to look into getting into the Tribe Plus. So that's what I worked on today. And I had such a kick because, a couple things. I had a great breakfast this morning. Looked out the window. It was really nice. And when I went out, it was about 38 degrees and there was no wind to speak of. And it got nicer and nicer and nicer until around 4 o'clock, it was 60 degrees and very little wind, sunny. It was just glorious to be in. And I was working off the back of the service truck out there in the chicken field. And, things were just going well. I did make a video today about farm vehicles. And so some of you may have seen it. I put it on the Tribe. And I got my motorcycle back yesterday from Lake City Motorsports. It's the second vehicle that we've taken to them. They're right up here in Lake City, and I'm going to have to give them a thumbs up, right? They did a good job. I got on that motorcycle this morning, second kick, it started right up. And then the rest of the day, first kick every time. And it runs smooth. They did a valve adjustment on it. What else did they do? They cleaned out the carburetor. They put a new plug in it, a new coil, and a new front fender. And I took it for a ride this morning, and it just makes me really happy. I mean, I'm not riding on the, I don't mean a ride on the road like a Harley ride or anything. This is just on the farm. I can go with that motorcycle every place or most places that I can't get to unless I'm walking. I can't drive to a lot of places on the farm this time of the year. So it just made me feel really good to have it back. I've had nearest we can figure, it's been 2 years uh, that like would have been 2020 maybe. Yeah, the spring of 2020. It didn't start. Well, that would be 3 years then. I don't know. But it didn't start. And then it was like, okay, well, I'll just use the Jeep. And then, the Jeep had to go in for a clutch. And it's like, okay, I'll just use the 3/4 ton. And, so on and so on. And I had a couple vehicles not running. Now, like all my vehicles are running and running pretty well. Really, it's a nice place to be. And I have a surplus vehicle that I'm going to be selling here pretty soon. I'm going to sell the man van. Yep, the 2003 Toyota Sienna. Good old van, but I can't justify keeping it. I'm going to probably by the end of this weekend, I'll have my 3/4 ton Ford on the road. I'm putting a new deck on it. I started a little bit on it today, right at the end of the day. Anyway, I just had a great day. I just had a really great day. It's kind of too bad that we weren't able to get this interview done. That was a disappointment for sure. I was highly disappointed at that. But we're going to do the best we can otherwise. And let me start the show by saying today's show is also sponsored by Tribe Plus. And the link is in the description. So if you would like to be in Tribe Plus, by all means, click on the link in the description and follow the instructions, and you will get there. There are manufacturer discounts from LEM 15%, Roots and Harvest 15%, Arc Heirloom Seeds 10%, Field and Forest Mushrooms, Heiza Boots 15%. And a lot of the courses that are available there are available to you for no charge. Cheese making, biochar, retort building, rabbit processing, fencing, chicken tractor building, poultry processing, and so much more. Okay, consulting call every other Wednesday night at 8 o'clock with ya boy. Says right there, with your boy, with me. So that's a Zoom call. Zoom calls are not really hard to do. I just get on and we're face to face, and you can ask your question and I can answer it real time. So they can be questions that are about, very specific things that you're doing on your homestead. Even at this point, I'm starting to see that homesteading is it's like a vehicle. It's like a motorcycle in a lot of ways. Like that motorcycle that I have now, it's 20 years old. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How old is this farm? This farm is 150 years since they broke ground on this place. And the components here, the buildings, everything is interchangeable with other things, right? So we don't have to say, oh, gee, well, the barn is falling down on the corner, so there's nothing we can do. Of course there is. Of course there is. We can fix that. We can prop that up and get a new timber put in there, and we're back in business. Same thing with the motorcycle. It won't start. Hey, carburetor needs to be flushed out and it needs new coil. It's weak. Do it. And then it's back in business, back in business. So our homesteads are a a compilation of components, and some of those components are ideas. They're ideas. So the idea that we want to talk about tonight is the idea of living with a cow on your homestead. So let's say you have a homestead and you've got, you know, a garden, and you've got some chickens, which is pretty common. People do the gardening thing. It's a great thing. Good place to start. As far as livestock goes, a great place to start is laying chickens, and then sometimes people will say, "Hey, well, I want to have some meat chickens." That's another good one. They kind of go hand in hand. If you can do one, chances are that uh, you can do the other, and then you have to pick up some other components. You have to know how to process those chickens, or get somebody to process those chickens. So that's all something that you have to think about. Let's see. We've got. Whoa, there's a new person. Where am I? Hey there. Catachrome. Howdy. Okay, how you doing? That's one I haven't seen. That's a name. So welcome. Let's see who else we got here. Abundant Living Health and Wellness Coach. That's my lovely wife. Faye Baker with Northwoods Natural Solutions. That is my daughter-in-law. 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 Peter Evans. Good day from Australia, mate. Yeah, throw another shrimp on the barbie for me, will you? You guys probably get that all the time. And Gary's here. Best place to buy a grass-fed Jersey milk cow. Okay, well that'll be my first thing that I can address. How to go about this. All right. So you may ask, well, what was it that made you think you wanted to have a milk cow on the farm? Somebody just pulled in. Okay, that's a good question too, Catachrome. We'll get to that. What's better prospect, a dairy specific cow or a dual purpose cow? Yeah, I've got some opinions on that. At the time we got our first cow, we were raising beef cows. And we had little kids we had a lot of kids in the house. We had just gone through the BST fiasco, the BST that was, or BGH, bovine growth hormone. And Jill and I were just starting to understand the gravity of the food. What we would say now, maybe some of you don't see it as a crisis, but I see it as a crisis in our country. We were just starting to understand the gravity of the food industry and what was happening. What was happening. You know how when, let's say you're in church, right? And you're not supposed to be laughing, right? And something happens that's kind of funny. How your urge to laugh is even more. You ever have that? I know as a kid, grew up Catholic, and we would go to Catholic church, and you're supposed to be quiet when we went in there, and just stuff happened, that wasn't supposed to happen. And us kids, us boys, we would go as a group, and we got kicked out one time. You 4 boys down in the front. Time for you to go. Father Lynch. Yep. But it's sort of like that for me and Jill. When we came out of a military community where reliability and dependability is very important. If you call on somebody and you say, "Hey, I'm in a bind. Can you help me out?" Like, they see it as, "You bet, man. I'll help you out right now." They're not gonna give you some, "No, I gotta watch Dancing with the Stars tonight." You're not gonna get that. You're gonna get somebody who's gonna step forward. Why? Because they wanna shine in your eyes, right? And we would trade that back and forth. "Oh, that guy's dependable. That guy will give you the shirt off his back. You need a hand, you call that guy." And we were really shocked when we came into the civilian community at, um, the lack of some of those things, and I I just have to put it bluntly like that. There was a lack of reliability, lack of accountability, lack of, what do you call it? Give a damnedness, a very short-sightedness on the part of a lot of people. And so we were really stunned at that. And then when we saw something happen like the bovine growth hormone debacle, I don't know if you guys don't know about that. They were giving this synthetically made hormone to milk cows, so it would make their udders get huge and their milk production go crazy because they could get more milk. But the bad news was it was being passed on in the milk, and you had really bad things happening to young and mostly girls. It was a bad deal. And when we first heard about that, I was like, that can't be. That can't be. But then we started to realize that a lot of the guys that were in the milking industry, oh, they would they do that in a heartbeat if they could get another few $1,000. They'd do it in a heartbeat. There would be no hesitation at all. You know, their bottom line was not the health of the end user. They didn't give a damn about that. And when we started to understand that, it was like shocking to us. And then they did away with that bovine growth hormone. We'd already had it though. It had already been in our milk without us even knowing. And then we said, you know what? We need to get our own cow because we had a bunch of kids, and um, we just decided it was time. We had grass, we have a farm. Why not have a cow? And so we did get a cow and we started milking her. And it was a learning curve because if you never grew up milking a cow, you don't know. Like I remember getting my compressor and my first surge milker. I plugged it in. It started making noises. I stuck my finger in the inflation, and it felt like it was doing a sucking motion. Okay, now put it on the cow. Let's see what happens. And lo and behold, we got milk. It did start out that we were milking by hand, though. It did, and then we found out that there was some milking equipment available that belonged to, I guess, my brother-in-law. It had been his father's, and it had been his father's before that, and we'd never really got the straight deal on where it originated, except for Grandpa brought it home one time and said, handed it to the boys and said, "Milk cows with this." But from what I'm told, the boys never used it because it was more of a hassle to clean it, so they just hand milked. I don't know. Could never really find out, but I do know when I got it, it had parts in it that were still in plastic that were brand new, even though it's a surge milker and it's probably 100 years old. So anyway, there was a learning curve for us, but we did, and we had a lot of good things happen along the way, and a lot of not so good things happen away. We had a cow that got mastitis. It was our first cow, Rose. I wound up having to shoot her myself. It was so bad. And we never really did know at the time why that happened, but it did. And, that was a horrible waste. That was in the early days where um, she was kind of my favorite being. Always figured she'd be around for a long time. And when she got mastitis so bad that we could not control it, and the vet said, no, there's nothing we can do. Um, we didn't even think about butchering her. I just put her down and covered her up. It was a real tough thing. Kind of a member of the family. I'm getting choked up. But I had to do another one this last summer too, and that was a rough time. But it was the second time I had to do that. So anyway, those were some of the tough times. But let's talk about the good times. You have milk like this, and I can't tell you the feeling you have when you're getting an end product, and it's from that cow that you see out there on the field. That's part of your farm. That's something that you do every day. When you're milking that cow, sometimes you lean your head up against that cow and you can feel the warmth on your forehead. In the wintertime, you open your jacket up and you put it on the cow. She's warm. Some of them are real friendly. This one, Rose, she was really friendly. And I really liked her. I really did like her. She was a great companion. And that went on for a while. We wound up adding a couple of cows. We added Fawn and Penny. Penny was a rescue. um, and I had a bad deal with that one too. I brought her to a friend's house to get her bread, and they fed her some stuff they shouldn't have, and she wound up dying. It was a really rotten deal. I felt bad about that one. Um, Fawn Fawn only had 3 teats, and then she got fat, and and she never took again. We had her in with a bull, but she never took. And so we had to learn a lot about breeding and things like that. So 10 years later, here we are. We've got 5 cows, a pretty solid little herd as far as I can see, and I've learned some things, right? So we we have really nice cheese that Jill makes. She makes a couple different kinds that I like. The kinds that she makes that I don't like, I never say anything about, and so she quits making them. The kind she makes that I do like feta. I really like her feta. Um, she continues to make that, and that doesn't last long. Once that's made and it's sitting out on the counter, it goes. And you get a feeling when you're drinking the milk completely different than milk that comes from the store. The milk that comes from the store, your effort into that was you went to the store, you stood in line, you got this milk, you picked out the newest one, and you bring it home. That's what you did. You drink milk because you're thirsty or you're hungry or whatever. You didn't have that much involvement in it. With this, I cut the hay that this cow ate. I moved the fences that this cow needed moved so she could get the green grass. And when I say I mean we, because we all participate in these things. The hay bine that I used to cut it, I put the new Seco bar in there, and it was a drag to do that. It was a real drag of a job, and several other things that I've had to do on those things. They were hard things, and they had to be done. The baler, um, I had some hard lessons with those. I had some bearings go out on the sides that were buried, and they were hard to get to, but I did it, and that is reflected in this glass of milk. Now, that's with everything on the farm. So that's the upside of it. Okay. That's the upside of having a cow. And you know how I am about assets and liabilities. You know how I am. I was talking with a gal yesterday, really nice girl that came to get milk. And she's talking about wanting to be home, and how the milk, this is catching on and people want to have milk. And I said, hey, if you want to be home on your homestead, you got to think about milking some cows. And she says, well, but I don't want to get tied down because we like to go boating in the summertime. Okay, that's the trade-off right there. Like, my cows have to be milked every single day. They can be milked twice a day. Okay, let's just check, make sure we don't have a breakdown. They can be milked twice a day, but we choose to just milk them once a day. And that's because we're a general purpose homestead that we have a lot of things going. And, what we do first thing in the morning is milk. Well, that's getting old. How do you make that stop? All right. I don't know how people keep them in their room at night with that thing going off all the time. So if you're going to milk twice a day, your morning and afternoon, that's taken up a lot of time because it's a sort of a ritual, it is. So for us, we've decided to do it once in the morning, and that's it for the day. And then it's questionable if we're getting the maximum amount of milk, but that's really not our focus. To get the most out of these cows. These are family possessions. They're family animals, almost pets, really. They're more like our dogs than the beef cows. The beef cows, I'm going to shoot them in the head, and I know I'm going to shoot them in the head. Where the milk cows, they can be around for a lot of years. They all have names. Where the beef cows, they get names like Blackie and Strawberry and that, but they're not like not like a Ruby or CC or names like that. I don't know. We don't really name the beef cows, or I don't. I wouldn't know their names. Maybe the kids do. So Ann Putnam's back with us. She hasn't been around in a long time. All right. So that can be a liability for some people, is you have to take care of them every day. But I don't know. Is that a liability? To me, having to drag a boat behind my truck and put it in the bay up there in Traverse City or on the lake, the big lake, like, that is stressful to me. And the times I've gone out on boats like that, it was like, wow, this is fun. I don't know. I guess if you're into it, but see, with a farm, it's kind of nice that, well, I have to be home because I really like living here. I like my routine. I like the days that are too nasty to be outside where, well, I got to stay in and read a book today. Or for a few hours or something like that. And I love the days when I can be out all day long. I love those days. Eat outside, everything. Take a nap in the sun. Love that. Yeah, it's good. Work. I love my work. I love to do my work on this farm. So for me, is it a liability? No. And I don't have to milk every day because we split it up amongst the kids and me. I only milk one day, actually, out of the 7. Rachel does 2, Jim does 2, and Frank does 2. So I don't see it as a real liability. If one of them needs to get out of here for some reason, one of us can take it. We can switch it around. So what is it like having milk cows? Let me see if I can encapsulate this from when we didn't have them to now that we do have them. Our farm has never been the type of farm that you could walk away from for a week. It's never been that way. Somebody always has to be here, and it has to be somebody who can troubleshoot and can figure out, okay, this happened. How do I fix this? It has to be somebody that's reliable, that if you tell them you're going to have to do this every day, that they, okay, I see that I got to do this every day. And like things happen when I'm gone. Things do happen. We've had, some tragic things happen while we were gone. We had a puppy. Somebody put a bucket full of whey outside of the back door. That's what is left over from making cheese in a white bucket, and it was half full, and a puppy got up in there and wanted to try and reach over until it went head first, bloop, right into the whey, and the puppy was found dead. Drowned in a horrible way. It was drowned in a terrible, terrible way. And things like that happen. And we were gone. We were gone. Me and Jill were out of town. And I forget who was in charge, but it was Keith that found the puppy. Uh, Joe used to have to take care of the farm, and I really piled a lot on him when I would do that. But I thought he could handle it. But then things would happen as soon as we would leave. Like all of a sudden, there'd be a pig out, and I'd get a phone call like, "What should I do?" And I'd say, "Well, catch the pig and put it back in." We can't. We've been chasing it for 2 hours. It's heading for the woods. Shoot it. I had to make that call from our restaurant, and he was all of about 15 years old, and he had to do that. So, things like that happen. I remember one time I pulled in, and we were sitting in the driveway for about a second, and a faucet mysteriously popped off, and there's water spraying. And the kids come out to see us, and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" And Joe's like, "What? It wasn't like that 2 seconds ago." And things happen. Things happen. So our farm isn't the kind of farm where you can walk away from. But when you have cows, it is more of a starting ritual of the day, I believe. And it's every day, um, regardless of the weather. And a lot of people see that as a liability. But let's 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 let you decide if it's a liability or an asset. To me, I think it's an asset because yeah, it takes time every day, but it produces every day. Milking that cow produces every day. So let's say I milk one cow and I get 2 gallons or 3 gallons of milk a day. I have a good sized family, or even if you have, let's say you have 4 children. I mean, I got 8, and there's always a little there's always other kids here for one reason or another. Um, Milk is a staple. You need it. Butter is a staple. You need cheese. If you have it a lot, you will use it a lot, and then it cuts costs. People will eat cheese, and cheese is good for them. It's good for their health. So, um, you are bringing something into the homestead, into the family that is saving you money because you're not buying it off farm. And then you can go a step further. Let's say you have more milk than you need and you sell a gallon of milk. Let's say you sell a gallon of milk every other day. And so 3 gallons of milk or 4 gallons of milk a week go out at $10, $40. What do you think that'll pay for? That'll pay for the feed for that cow, or a lot of it, a whole lot of it, a whole lot of it. And if you were to just keep that money in a tip jar or something, and then when it came time to buy hay, you'd have cash money to buy hay. Let's say you increase that to 5 cows, and you're bringing in 10 gallons a day, right? And you've worked at it. Now, none of this stuff is going to just happen because you get a cow and you start milking it. You get a cow, you start milking it. Eh, this guy does this all the time. All right. It's the same guy that always calls around this time. Um, let's say you get 10 gallons a day and you've got a clientele and you're able to move it all. Let's say you could move 10 gallons per day at $10 per gallon. $100 a day, 7 days in a week, $700 a week. It's a nice little facet for a couple, maybe 2 hours worth of work in the morning. Not, it doesn't take me 2 hours. Plus the hay cutting and, the feeding and all that stuff, which is part of the farm. Um, that's a nice little facet on the farm. Let's say you increased it to 10 cows and you were able to move all that. So getting a customer base takes time. And who do you want in your customer base? If you have somebody who wants milk, let's say they want something from you, but they want it on their terms. And we've had this before. Oh, I want milk, but I don't want it in a plastic jug. I want it in this wine jug that I'm going to hand to you. No, we don't do that. We'd put it in plastic. At the time, we put them in plastic. I don't do that anymore. So we would no, we do it this way. So you do it that way or buy your own cow, It's like a lot of the processes that we do on this farm, whether it's cows, chickens, media, we do it this way. And we make that call. If you're not able to do it that way, go get your own. Go do it on your own. We're not able to custom do it for everybody. And once in a while, if somebody says, "Hey, I got a real problem with that. Is there any way we can work around it?" And asks me, then I would say, yeah, maybe, if it's worth it to me. But if they say, "I'm not doing it that way, I want to do it this way," that's not how we do it. That's just not how we do it. So, we have that with chickens quite a bit. We do our chicken processing a certain way, and somebody will come to us and say, "Well, I don't want them done that way." Well, sorry, that's how we do them. If you don't like them that way, then you better find somebody else to do it. Maybe take them to the Amish and see if you can get them to do it your way, or do it yourself. But it's like that with a lot of things, marketing, a lot of things like that. You figure out what works, and that's the way we're going to do it. And if a customer says, "I want you to deviate for me," no, no, I can't be doing custom work for everybody. All right, you want it in a wine bottle? It's going to be $15 because I don't do it that way, and your wine bottle doesn't fit in my cooler. So if you want it that way, all right, it's $15. Make it worth my while. But generally, we don't like to deviate like that. So there can be a tremendous gain in a milk cow. And, like I talked about chicken tractors, how my number is 80 on that chicken tractor. With your cow, it can be, you can figure 2 gallons or 2.5 gallons, because when they start off, they're going to be heavy. And then when they get to the end of their lactation, they're going to be quite light. So they might be producing you a gallon of milk where they start off at 5 gallons of milk, So you can figure right in the middle, 2.5. And, that's for you to figure out in your operation. But this has worked out really well for us. People here like doing it. And milk, raw milk, there's so much rhetoric about raw milk. I don't even want to debate it anymore. If people choose to believe that raw milk is is evil and against the law, and just looking at it could kill you if it's sour or something like that. If they choose to believe that, I don't even want to sell chickens to them. If they choose to believe that, it's like winnows out the people who are aligned with the lying establishment, media, Department of Agriculture, just the establishment in agriculture is so full of untruths, and they cloak a lot of it in science, right? Like they can speak truth because they got a 4-year degree in biology and you ain't got one, right? It's really funny in a way. Religion does the same thing, and it happens everywhere. But you don't want to fall into that, you just don't want to fall into that. So let's see. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this. We have liked milking cows quite a bit. We like owning them. Like everything to do with it. I think I would always do it. The problem would be is if I decided I was going to be a traveler, if I was going to be in my Winnebago going and doing anyone can farm classes on all of your farms, and we didn't have somebody to take care of the farm that was dependable, then I don't know if I could keep cows. I might not be able to. All right, so let me read some of these before we get ahead. Okay. Best place to buy a grass-fed Jersey milk cow. That's a loaded question, Gary. That's a loaded question. I really think the best thing for new guys to do, like you, and I know these people, they are Tribe Plus people, and we do consulting calls on Wednesday. So I'm face to face with Belva and Gary, very often, and I feel as though I'm more than willing to tell you the straight poop. If you haven't handled cows, which you haven't, I don't think. You've never said that you have cows on your place. Getting a full-size cow and a calf can be like, whoa, who's this? This is a big animal. Like, I hope she doesn't step on me, or, and it's a real learning curve where you could have the feelers out for a calf, a heifer calf. So let's do a little nomenclature here. A cow is a female bovine that has had a calf. She's had a baby calf. So she becomes a cow when she has a calf. Before she has a cow, she's a heifer, right? So a heifer calf would be a non-mother bovine female, young probably, and she can have her first calf. She can be impregnated when she's, I think, 10 months. I think 10 or 12 months. That's a good question. Too bad we don't have the expert on. I don't know. I think 10 months is when you can impregnate them, and then they have a 9-month gestation. So she'll be carrying a very small baby, and then as she grows, it grows, and I think you can do that. That's a good question, though. We should get that answered. If you can find a heifer calf, and let's say it is a calf that is, a couple days old, and you're able to get that calf and then get some milk replacer and bottle that calf will bond to you, and she will be easy to pet, easy to lead, easy to handle. You can touch her udder. It'll be a real easy deal. And then by the time she's ready to be bred, she'll already be familiar with you, and you have a couple options. You could bring her to somebody who has a bull, and I think that what you want to do is bring the calf or the heifer to the bull, because if somebody has a bull, then they have an idea on how to handle a bull. Where if you borrowed my bull and brought it to your place, and you're on your very first cow, that could be a bad thing. It could be kind of like, you want to borrow a car to go up the store, and the only thing available is like a Mustang GT 500 sitting there, with a 4-speed transmission, and it's, turbo supercharged, and you just want to go to the store and get a pop. That's it's pretty high speed. Um, and that there is opportunity throughout this whole operation. The further I get into it, okay, so I have a bull, and we have a pretty good idea of how to maintain him and contain him. He can't be going out with the cows. There's going to be a couple options. Either he's going to stay with the beef cows. He doesn't know that he's not a beef cow. And I say cow, and I mean bovine. They're not. Some of them are. None of them are cows. They're all either steers or heifers, and they're just beef animals. They're all going to be freezer beef at some point. He could go out with them, or we could build a pen just for him, and it would have the necessary equipment to contain him, and we would also use that pen for possibly a breeding pen too. So let's say friends of mine have cows and they want them bred. They could bring them here, put them in with my bull, and he would take care of it, right? And then we at some point would check them. If they're pregnant, away they go. It's actually an opportunity because that bull needs to breed. He wants to breed, wants to be in with it, but I cannot let him out on the fields. I can't, because he's not as impressed with an electric fence as the girls are. The girls are really easy to keep in, but him, no. And if he gets out, now what? He's dangerous. So I'm working on that situation as we speak. I'm working on that. So my recommendation on that, Gary, is you look around to see what you can find, and you may find somebody that's got a cow, but they just got a new job and it's moving them out of state, and they really want somebody to, that would love this cow, and so send Belva to look at the cow, and that will fill that, because a lot of times with a cow, somebody's first milk cow, it's like a heartfelt issue. um, these are not the CAFO cows, the concentrated feeding operation cows that just have an ear tag, and this is number 1062. uh, this could be Daisy, and we've had Daisy since she was new. Daisy doesn't care who she lives with, but the people who own Daisy are going to be, feeling a lot better if they have placed it with this really nice lady that's going to take care of the cow and all that stuff. That's part of that game. But that takes a little bit of looking for that. And the tribe could be a very good place for that. At this point, it isn't, but we haven't developed it yet. We haven't developed it, but I want to. I want to develop that. Like, I've got enough room here and I've got enough hay where I can be out on the move looking for cows. And if I see a cow and I think it's a good cow, I mean, I'm not a wizard or anything, but I can kind of look at them and say, yeah, that's a good one. Somebody's got one for sale. I don't need it. I just bought one actually from Amber DeZoo, and she bought it off an Amish guy that passed away, and she just bought it and was going to milk it, but they're milking two cows already, and she didn't want the third, so she just put it back up for sale, and I got it, and but I need it, so I'm going to keep it. But I could be on the lookout for those things all the time. And you can buy animals like that. You can kind of warehouse them, or I put them in with my bull, so I know that they're going to be bred, and you're adding value to them if they can go to someone else's homestead and they're already bred, and they don't have to worry about that. And then that person that buys that cow from me, they know that, oh, you can bring her back and get her bred with my bull, right? So there's opportunity there. there's definitely opportunity there. So you're either going to want to find a cow that is friendly and has been milked, is leadable, for your first cow. That's a nice cow. And if you have problems like kicking or anything like that, there's people on the tribe that can tell you what to do about that. I learned that. The other option is to find a calf, a heifer calf, and then you be bottling that calf twice a day for 8 weeks. Very therapeutic, and that calf will love you. It'll be like one of your babies, one of your dogs, and will actually bond with your dogs quite a bit, and you too. And then maybe you're looking down the road and saying, you know what, I'm going to get another one. I'm going to get another one. So then those guys have somebody to hang around with, and maybe the ages are a little off, but it's definitely doable. Heifer calves are not all that expensive. You can get a really nice heifer calf. I don't want to say, because sometimes, like, I have one that a guy gave me because she had a bad back foot, right? And he said, I don't want her in my herd. He's a commercial CAFO type guy. He is organic, but he didn't want to deal with her. And she came here. Yeah. And if you come here and you see her, it's like, wow, what's wrong with her? Well, she's got a bad back foot. Can't you do something about it? No, we can't. It's a nerve issue. And she limps around. And sometimes in the wintertime, it looks like it hurts her. So she's got a calf in her now, and this is going to be her last calving. And, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like if she snaps out of it and we see that it's not distressing her, but right now it distresses us to see her, not putting pressure on that foot. So, but I got her for free. And, we raised her up, and we've gotten three calves out of her, and lots of milk out of her. She's a good cow, and she's a Holstein, right? So you want a Jersey cow. And I guess if we were on our consulting call, I'd say, why Jersey? I'd be asking you, why do you want Jersey? What is it? What's the allure of Jerseyness? Is it the name? Does that, like New Jersey? It sounds very American, Yeah, I got a couple jerseys. I like them, but I'm just wondering why you want jerseys, Okay, cool. I hope I answered that. If not, we'll see you Wednesday night. What's a better prospect, a dairy-specific cow or a dual-purpose cow? Okay, I have an opinion on this, and this is going to be an opinion. But I've been farming now for a while. Let's see, 30 years now. How about that? And I've seen this marketing shtick in several different species. And I'm calling it a shtick. I'm calling it what I think it is. Because if you go through a chick catalog, you'll see dual purpose, and they'll show you a plate of really nice looking sunny side up eggs, and then a plate right next to it of some dynamite looking fried chicken. But our experience with those dual purpose, they're not really good at either. They're not really good at either. So you get a mediocre layer, and then when you finally butcher it, it's not as big as it looks like in the picture. They grow really slow, and they're tough, right? So why wouldn't you just get laying hens like Rhode Island Reds, and then if you want meat, chicken meat, get Cornish crosses or Freedom Rangers. Freedom Rangers are now they're my current favorite. I really like them. So I think that's a better way to go. So same with cows. We, for a long time, we used a man that would come here and artificially inseminate our cows. And that's where he reaches up inside of them and he has a little straw with semen in it and he squirts it into them in a certain place. And voila, you get a calf out of it. And so I was of that same mindset. I said, I know what we'll do. We'll inseminate these cows with Angus, black Angus, whatever that is, right? And the calf, we will be able to use it for a beef cow. Well, I've got a couple of them out there right now, and they're black Angus. One of them is black Angus. I think there's two of them, but they're both small. They're really small, and one of them is a heifer who happens to be impregnated by the bull, and she doesn't have a good udder, so we can't milk her. She's not going to be suitable for milking, and she's pretty small. She's really not going to be a good beefer. So we've been feeding her all this time, and it's just, I mean, you look at them next to the Herefords that are out there, and there's just no comparison at all. There just isn't. She's small. She doesn't make the weight gains, and she's going to be stringy, and so I guess you hear where I'm coming from. The dual purpose animals, I don't see why you would do that, unless you were limited where you live to, you can only have one cow. I would move. Like, I wouldn't want to have just one cow. Or let some township tell me how many cows I can have, or what kind of cows, or something like that. I'd have something to say about that. So no, I'm not into that. I would say get a milk specific cow and you will get better milk production, better temperament. Um, we've seen Jersey steers be a little unmanageable. Yeah. That's a milk breed, Jersey. And, if you get a bull, calf is born, and you castrate him, now you've steered him, and they're still kind of ganky. They're still kind of, you got to watch them, Let me expound a little on bulls. They get to a certain age and they can be very dangerous. All right. Very dangerous. The one that I have, I don't know. The danger is that he stops respecting fences, and he's big, he's tall, he's athletic, and he could jump fences if he wants to, and he hasn't. But if he does, and he takes a notion that he's not going to go back in, you might be tuning up the old 308, because that might be one of your only options. If he doesn't want to do something, my bull isn't quite that headstrong yet, but he could be. But on the other hand, maybe he won't be. The last bull that I had, he was kind of a jerk and unmanageable, but we never felt in danger from him. And he had a rack on him too. I had another bull before that. He was a brown bull. He was a Simmental. And I had him in a pen, and I was standing, and the top of the pen was this high with a board. Like, to get in there, you had to stand up. You had to climb up over it. He jumped over it, and he went right over my head. And I was new to this whole game, and I was just like, whoa, what do we do now? And he wound up, I'll tell you a story, like stories. He took off. He was leaving the farm. And we stood there and just watched him run. And at the time, the farm wasn't fenced off the way it is. And behind him, it just looked like he was just throwing up dirt behind him in a dead run. Nothing was going to stop him. You could hear him crashing through the woods. And I was thinking, like, now what do I do? Now what do I do? And I went looking for him. I couldn't find him. a guy called me, a guy by the name of Daniel Gafka. That was his. Whenever I called him back, that was his message. You know, the lady must have told him, state your name. And he stated his name, and he sounded like a school kid. You know, what's your name? Daniel Gafka. It was funny. But I don't think he lives there anymore. But he was a couple miles that way, and he called me, and he says, I heard you're missing a bull. And I said, I am. He says, well, there's a bull out here in the pasture. What color's your bull? I said, he's brown. He said, this looks like your bull. And I drove down there, and I saw him from about 400 yards. I saw him. And as soon as I saw him, he heard my truck, and his head was like this. And he looked right at the direction I was coming from. And by the time I got to Daniel Gafka's house, from his back porch would have been a 200-yard shot. And by the time I got there, the bull had ducked into the woods again. And so to go track him in the woods was not a good idea because he was a big bull. And let's say I shot him in the woods, I got to get him out of the woods. And this was in the summertime. Not a good time to be shooting a bull. But my thought was, if he gets in the road and somebody hits him, somebody could get hurt. I don't think I'm ever going to have him back on the farm again. I don't think he's going to follow me back. I don't think he's going to go into a trailer. I don't have a horse and a lariat to, to bulldog him. I only got one option here. So the next time, it would have been like 2 weeks later, I kind of was thinking, well, he's gone. Not my problem anymore. And Daniel Gafka called me again. He says, hey, your bull's here. So I went down there with a different vehicle, a very different vehicle. Don't remember what it was at the time. Oh, yeah, it was the 2-ton. So I don't drive the 2-ton all that much. And so he didn't recognize that. And I didn't slow down when I came around the corner. And he was out there eating. And I had a deer rifle with me. Actually, it was a 30-30 with a scope on it. It's a good brush gun. And I walked out behind a fence post, and he kept looking up, but he couldn't see me. I was behind a fence post. I was right behind it. And I mean, he might have seen my arms and stuff, but and I got to the fence post, and I was still like 150 yards from him. And I put it up on top of it, and I sat there for a minute, and I touched it off, and I got him right between the eyes. And he went down like a sack of potatoes. And then Daniel went out there with his tractor and dragged him in. And we pulled him up onto the 2-ton, and I brought him home, and I butchered him. And I don't even remember how that went. I just don't remember. It was the summertime, and he was a bull. And bulls, you can eat them. There's no smell, but they definitely are tougher. There's no doubt. And I don't think we had the cooler back then. I'm pretty sure we didn't. We didn't have what we do now as far as butchering facilities. So handling a bull that time of year, I mean, we must have just done what we could at the time. Anyway, so bulls can be a problem. And so it's probably better to leave it someplace where whoever has the bull knows how to handle it, and just put your cow in with the bull and then retrieve your cow once. Like after he breeds her, he doesn't even want to know her name. Like, you still respect me, right? No, I don't. Okay. Penny Lund, she's saying they were convinced that stuff was actually not bad for people. Yeah, I think that's BST you're talking about, people's health. No, they knew. They knew. You can't tell me. These are scientists. You tell me they don't know. They're part of the elite that we're finding out, or at least the masses are finding out now. I've known it for years. They don't operate for your safety or your benefit. They operate for their own, and they see you as a sheep to fleece, to take from. And people are just starting to figure this out. Like the whole thing with the you know what flu. Um, People couldn't wrap their heads around how evil that is because they just don't. They think that these organizations are there for our benefit, and now they're saying, "Wait a minute, they did what?" I thought like these drug companies were making drugs to benefit mankind. What? Are you out of your mind? They're making drugs to benefit themselves. They convince you that you have a problem and that they are supplying you the fix. You can't stay at a hotel without seeing drug commercial after drug commercial after drug commercial if you have nothing better to do than watch the TV, right? That's all that's on. And they convince you that you have a problem and here's the fix right in this bottle. Just go tell your doctor that you need it. You got Medicare? They'll cover it. Yeah, okay. And Phelps, yeah, we all our family is in Minnesota and Wisconsin. That's the worst part of owning a dairy cow. We never make it back to see them now. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, maybe especially if you don't like them, then you can say, "Well, I can't. I got to stay here and milk the cows. You guys can come and see us." Yeah. We have meatloaf and sunrise sirloin. I wonder what sunrise sirloin is. That sounds interesting. Ann Phelps says, I usually have meetings Thursday night. Oh, so that's why you haven't been around in a while? Yeah. Okay. No problem. Ann says, we have a lake place in a UP on a nice inland lake. I wish the farm was there because we never go there now either. But the farm does make me happy. Well, I tell you what, I get up to the UP once in a while and give me the combination to the lock, and we'll go in and stay a few days. Just make sure everything's taken care of and see how the fishing is in your inland lake. That'd be fun. Isaiah says, watching while drinking a cold glass of Baker's Green Acres fresh milk. There you go, my brother. Right there. Matt Black, 440. He must be talking about milking. I feel it brings structure to my day. If I don't have my cow to milk in the evening, I tend to work way too late in the evening. Yeah, I could see that. You got to kind of have guardrails. Now, me, Matt, I'm a free spirit. When I start working and I'm having a good time, it's like, well, I really should go in the house. I should say goodnight to the kids, and yeah, I should go to bed the same time as the wife. But if I'm having a good time working, the heck with them. Ann says, I was worried about getting a milk cow because of the commitment. Yep. I now love milking in the morning. I have always loved milk. All my allergies that were really bad before are completely gone. Isn't that something? I mean, you'd think that testimony right there would be enough. But the other side that's trying, I mean, they're actively saying that raw milk is dangerous, right? They're saying it's dangerous, right? And they suppress a message like that. And I say, let them. I say, let them. If with the internet, you can get so much information now. If people choose to believe like the science, I mean, we've tried to talk them out of some of the foolish science. Now, there is serious science, but they've just used it like a religion to convince people that because they are, wizards or scientists, that you should believe them because they're a scientist. Look at these numbers, these letters I have behind my name. You don't know anything because you have no letters behind your name. Nope, you don't know nothing, right? So There's a lot of that, and they put out their spells and incantations, and people just kind of, you hear it so much that even though you are drinking raw milk, you'll something will go wrong, and I wonder if it was the raw milk. I have a friend. I haven't seen her in a while. Um, I used to know her really good, and so I know her, and I know the story very well. If you've ever seen the movie or heard of the movie Farmageddon, she produced the movie. Um, and we went out to her house and we did a pig butchering. She lives in Concord, Massachusetts, and um, her son was literally like the boy in the bubble. Literally, he had so many problems, allergies and things like that, that he literally couldn't go to school. He could not go to school. Um, this gal's name is Kristen Canty, by the way. I don't think she'd mind if I told you her name. I just talked to her a couple years ago. Just seen her the other day on Facebook too. Um, and she was at a place where she had tried everything for this guy. And finally, somebody said, "Why don't you try raw milk?" And so she's like, "Why not? I tried everything else." And his symptoms cleared up in a very short period of time. And he even went on, I believe, to get a scholarship, a full ride scholarship in hockey, at a university in Massachusetts. I don't remember at this point which one it was, but hockey is it's a rough game, and you've got to be physically very tough to be in college hockey, right? So, I mean, that testimony right there should be enough, but no, it'll just be discounted by science, right? People that tell you that we landed a spaceship on the moon and played a round of golf. Okay. Anne says, oh, okay. We have a miniature Jersey Dexter, and that was perfect. Okay. Yep. Okay. 15 months on for breeding a heifer. 15 months. All right. Well, how much milk per day from a miniature cow, Anne? That's a good question. Oh, you want Jersey for the cream. Okay, legit, legit. Gary's saying he wants a Jersey for the cream. Okay. Well, I got a Guernsey who I love, and she gives a lot of cream too. I don't know. We've got three radically different cows. We've got that we're milking right now, and the milk gets split up by cow. And like one of my kids, oh, I like CC milk better, and she's a Holstein. You get a lot of milk from her. Uh, the problem you would have if you got a Holstein is like you get so much milk. You're going to have to get creative with milk. But milk is one of these things that you can use it for so many things. It isn't just for drinking, there's so many uses for milk. And then I have a Guernsey that I've really liking these days. She's getting pretty nice, and I like her milk better than the jerseys. All right. Matt Black says that's correct. 15 months, bull gets turned in with cows and heifers. 3 months after calving this year's calf crop. Okay. So we have a confirmation there. Maybe Matt Black. That's good information. Okay, cool. Ann says after freshening, and a little nomenclature there, when a cow who was a heifer, when she has her calf, she just graduated into cowhood, and she has what they call freshened. That's called freshening. When she's freshened, that's after she's had her calf, she's freshened. If you get into having a milk cow, you got to learn the nomenclature. You don't want to be go around using incorrect terminology here. So after freshening, she was giving 4 gallons. That was in September. We were down to a gallon and a half about a month ago. I started milking twice a day to get just over 2 gallons. Wow. That's interesting information. Just over 2 gallons. That's cool. Okay. Okay, yep. Patty, you're right. Guernsey also has nice cream. That's what I agree. Ann Putnam is saying our cream is great. We get just short of a quart from a gallon for cream. Great cheese. What would you agree with me that this is that cows are kind of like a magical animal? You're feeding them grass that grows everywhere. You can't stop that stuff from growing. It's everywhere, and forages. I mean, my cows they'll go after lamb's quarter first. So I could take just about any field on this farm, go out there with a disc and disc it, and lamb's quarter would come out of that ground like while you're standing there. It's really, I won't say, I don't like the word invasive, but very persistent uh, covering crop. See, if you call it a weed, then it's like I hate that stuff. But when you call it a covering crop that just comes out of the abundant earth, then it's like, oh, that's nice. I mean, when you see new lamb's quarter growing, and you know what lamb's quarter is, go out there and pull it off. You know, you can kind of grab it at the base of the branch, and then you just strip those leaves off, and you'll have a nice, tightly packed little package of leaves, and pop that in your mouth and chew it up. It is the best tasting stuff, and it's weeds. And I remember when we first moved here, I thought, how do these guys do this? I mean, these things come up overnight. And then if you don't do something about it, they'll have a stalk on them like that, and they'll be up over your head. It's amazing to see that stuff grow. But the cows love it. I've got a friend that says, "Oh, the cows love it. They'll even lick the rocks off." I hear a bunch of noise in the other room. All right. Okay. Joni's with us. Right on, Joni. Long time no see. Joni says, okay, Meatloaf and Sunrise Sirloin are the names of our steers. Okay. Okay. I get you. Am I correct? This is Joni, and she's saying, am I correct in assuming that a mini Jersey will give less milk? When I get a cow, it will only be for 2 of us to drink cheese and yogurt, so less would be good. Yeah, they're going to give less because they're smaller. It's like any mammal, a smaller. Well, I shouldn't say that because I've seen some great big cows with small udders, and I've seen some skinny little cows with big udders, you know. So it's not a rule of thumb. But the problem with getting a mini cow is they're sort of like a boutique animal. So just the fact that they're a mini, people can ask more for them, and they do. Whereas that's why I say don't overlook the Guernsey. Don't overlook the Guernsey. Guernseys are plentiful. I mean, the Holstein. Holstein are the black and white cows. They are plentiful. All the big dairies milk them. And, if you wanted to buy a calf, you could get one at a pretty reasonable rate. And I think what people say is, well, yeah, but I don't want a smaller one. And my question would be, why do you want a smaller one? Well, they're easier to handle. No, even a small Jersey is way stronger than you are, and if they don't wanna be handled, they're not gonna be handled. So, if you got a small mini cow that you bought from somebody, well, it's a small one, and it's a mini cow, yeah, I paid a premium, paid $4,000 for it, but it's wild. You're not gonna be able to put a rope around its neck and lead it around if it doesn't wanna be led. It would be like trying to lead, because it's gonna be at least 500 pounds. It way out it's way stronger than you, and it way outweighs you. Whereas if you got a calf at a young age, say a Holstein, which you could get at a reasonable rate, because there's certain things that the big dairies look at in a cow, and they'll say, "Well, I can't keep them all." So yeah, you can have that one. $500 or $300. It's yours. Oh, well, awesome. And it could be $100. It just depends on how many they have, and like maybe they don't have anybody to take it to wherever it's got to go, and it's like the guy needs beer money. So yeah, you got $200 on you. Go ahead, take it. And it's gone. It's out of his hair. Just like the one that like Cece, we got her for free because she had a bad back foot. Got her for free, and she's given us lots and lots and stuff. So I don't know about that small thing. If you've got more milk than you needed, sell the milk, sell it or share it, trade it. You'll make friends. People who drink raw milk are cool. We just are. Okay. Ghost says those are US gallons, though. You need a Canadian cow. Uh, you left a word out. Shouldn't you be saying A there? Do you know how they came up with the name Canada? I wonder if you knew that. They had a bunch of Newfoundlanders around, and they were trying to come up with a name. And the first guy says, "Well, I don't know, but maybe should start with a C, eh?" And the other one says, "Could be. The next letter could be A, eh? How about N, eh? How about D, eh?" Yeah. Just curious, who all makes cheese and who wants to be doesn't? Who wants to be doesn't? Abundant Living says, huh, LOL ghost. Okay, Belva's saying, Jill, want to be making cheese one day. So Belva wants to make cheese. A lot of people have concerns about A1 and A1 Holsteins. We got an A1, A2, even though I was trying to find an A2, A2 because it is supposed to be easier to digest. Well, the A1, A2 is just as good. Yeah, I don't know about all of that. I don't even know what those I should, right? I should, but I don't know. Anne says raw milk is the difference. We have had lactose intolerance. People join our membership and have no problem with raw milk. Right on. Yeah. Joni's saying, thanks, Mark, for the info. I will look into some regular size cows. Yeah, they're so much cheaper. And if you get them young and you get them so you can handle them, then it doesn't matter that they're huge. Like Cece is a very big cow, but I never lead her around. I open the gate and she goes to the stanchion. She stands there eating her stuff. I milk her. When it's over, we pull the pin on the stanchion and open the gate, and she wants to go back and stand by the hay feeder and eat. We don't lead her, we don't encourage her. She just kind of trained, and that's not just me. That's Frank. That's my 11-year-old son doing that. So if she wanted to run through the wall and steal the car, there would be no stopping her other than, maybe a gun. Okay, and saying lactose intolerance equals pasteurized milk disease. Yeah. They change it. They change the milk. And why are they doing that? Why are they pasteurizing the milk? Because they said that if they don't, you could get sick. So they're doing it for your health. But if milk production went back to the 80 cow dairy, or let's say the 10 cow dairy, I don't even know about the 80 cow dairy because they're mixing all that milk together. But if it went back to the 10 cow dairy, the milk is handled properly and the cows are taken care of properly, and you don't have you know, the the bad milk, that has to be heated and changed, molecularly changed by heating. That's not milk anymore. It's cooked milk. They cook it, but they call it pasteurizing. Why don't you just call it cooking? We got to cook this milk. We got to boil this stuff, and then we'll cool it off. And then here you go. And then they got to homogenize it too, because after they boil it, they've changed it so much. They have all these globules floating around, and they take all the cream off of it. So you don't get the cream. Ghost is saying I could pass as a Canuck. Yep. There's a video course in the membership, Belva, that we just made. So there you go. There's your benefit of being in the Tribe Plus. Yep. Okay, so I got some exciting news today. I mean, I had some bad news come, but then I got some good news. And my lovely wife got Joel Salatin to come on our interview show. This show, he's coming. He's not. No problem with old Joel Salatin coming on our show. June 8th. So that's going to be really neat. I'm going to be kind of nervous that day, actually. He's a really good guy. You guys will have a kick listening to him. And I'm going to kind of ask him about his new book. I don't know if it's out yet, but maybe it will be by then. But he told me, I spoke to him on the phone, and he told me the title of the book, and it was something, 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 and the coming homesteading tsunami. Right. So I'm going to be interested to hear his take on all of these people that are getting into homesteading, and like, what does this mean for the people that are in homesteading now? What does it mean for, industrial agriculture? Where is industrial agriculture at this point? I want to hear from him, because many, many years ago, when I was a brand new farmer, I was at a speaking engagement out in California, and wouldn't you know, so was Joel Salatin, and I was the first speaker at this conference, and he was in the audience, and I could see him too. So here I am speaking to this crowd. I've been farming for a couple of years, maybe 4 years, and then I had a little bit of experience before that at my first farm. But I was talking about the anyone can farm thing, that I thought it would change a lot of things. And I had these ideas back then, but I didn't really know what I was talking about per se. I thought that back then, I actually thought that the Department of Agriculture would say, "Hey, that's a good idea, Mark. We're going to go with you on that." And I just was, I was new and didn't have the perspective on things to really. But on that trip, I wound up sitting next to him at dinner, and we were talking about the court case that my family was going through. And I said to him, "Well, if you look down the road on this, where does this all end?" And he said to me, he said, the big corporations that have run agriculture into the ground with their greed and everything else. Now, you guys remember this because come June, I'm going to remind him about this. He said they are on a race to the bottom. And like, am I supposed to know what that means? You know? And so he explained it to me. And so I'd be interesting to get his take on it again. You know, like maybe in our lifetimes, maybe even here coming up real soon, because I've said this to you guys for a long time. Um, if we went back on the gold standard, there wouldn't be all this make believe money for the USDA to be handing out to the factory farms. Like they live off subsidies. Well, why do they get subsidies? You know, we just say, "Oh, they get subsidies." Well, I don't get subsidies. Why do you subsidize a business that's failing? Oh, because the USDA does. Yeah, but why? I mean, if a business is failing, shouldn't it just fail? You know, so somebody else can take over the land and the property and maybe work a little harder, a little smarter. Shouldn't isn't that how it's supposed to go? But what the US government's going to subsidize a farming operation that has been mismanaged and taken in the wrong direction at the hands of the same people who are giving out the money. They're saying you must go in this direction to get this money. Yeah, but we'll fail. Yeah, but you want the money? That's what it's all that's why, you know, when you find out what the USDA is really about, you kind of scratch your head like, what are these what's their end game? What is their end game here? And now that we've just gone through the you know what flu, is it so hard to connect the dots? It's not for me, you know, and I mean, I was connecting these dots 2 years ago. But now I think it's easier for people to digest that you mean they're not there for food safety? Of course not. Okay. The ghost says it's like getting Jimmy Page on your how to guitar channel. Yeah, really. Joel is has been in this game a long time, and there were uh, you know, I'm surprised. We have about a steady 400 people that listen to our show. I think, according to the numbers, you know, and I don't know if those numbers are actually factual. I really don't know. There's no way, you know, we can know. But you kind of wonder, gee, why would you come on our show? But I think it's because we have kind of a kindred spirit going here in the direction that we think we want to take our farming operations going. Like, when you get a good farming operation going, and you sit and watch a couple sunsets and sunrises, and you know you have very fulfilling days at your work and fond memories of your animals and the people that you interact with around your farm. Like you want more. You've made it. You want more of that, you know. And then you say, well, we could share this. We could turn other people on to this. That feels really good. That feels like a worthwhile thing to do. You know, I don't, anyway, let me shut up. Okay. So that's going to be happening. That's really great news. What else is going on? Okay. It's Thursday night. Friday is around the corner, and we got a weekend coming up. And I guess the next thing, pastured poultry. Our pastured poultry class is full. So if you didn't get into the class, you're not going to get in the class. We're actually one over. But if you have regrets about not getting your registration in sooner, get it in anyway, or at least put your request in anyway. And Jill's putting together a second list. So we let 24 people in We got 25. But if we get another 24, we'll set up another class. I guess is what I'm hearing. I guess. It's just tricky because now we're into summer. Our class is in May. Yeah, it's in May. So the chickens that we use for that class are out on the field. All of them are out on the field as of today, as of tonight, this evening. I got them all out. Okay, I'm going to go. Stay cool. Remember, anyone can farm, and get out there and get her done. See ya.